What's up? It's your boy Kazi. Welcome to Kazi Plays, and I'm gonna be showing you guys how to play Elsa Bloodstone in today's guide. So without further ado, let's get into it. To start things off, let's first talk about her role. Elsa Bloodstone is your hit scan DPS that is really good at poking, but also has the ability to set up traps to corner the enemies, and on top of that has really good burst potential to quickly finish off enemies before they can recover. In order to get the most value out of her, you don't want to be focusing only on poking. You want to do a mix of poking and also using the abilities in your kit, and figuring out the balance between the two is going to be the hard part that you need to get the hang of. Up next, let's go over her abilities. Her primary is a burst shotgun that does have some pretty significant fall off at a range. Her next ability is a dash that she can aim in any direction that gives her overshield, and on top of that it turns her primary into the monster piercer. And even though it only has one bullet, that one bullet does a high amount of damage and has a piercing effect. With her next ability, Elsa can deploy a trap that once fully deployed becomes invisible to the enemy and they can't destroy it. And once they go into the trap, they are stunned momentarily and will take a bit of damage, and you will also be prompted with the option to dash at them. Her next ability is a bullet that can bounce off of any platform, and when it does hit an enemy, it marks them, and hitting marked enemies with either your primary or the monster piercer does give you a bit of a speed boost for a short time. Her next ability is a dash that does give her overshield, and when the dash does connect, it does launch the enemy up into the air. And it does also turn your primary into the monster piercer and does give you the prompt for a follow-up that pushes you backwards, and if the shot does hit, it does slow enemies down. Elsa also has a passive where she has a bar under her HP, and how that bar works is that the more damage you do, the higher that bar fills up, and the higher that bar fills up, the shorter the cooldown will be on your dash. And finally, with her ultimate, she summons out a beast called the Glocktrox that you can recall at any time, but keep in mind that if there is an obstacle in the way, the Glocktrox will not come back to you. Elsa also has a team up with Deadpool where it changes up the properties of Living Bullet to make it that 1, Deadpool will be talking in their ear non-stop, 2, they will get slowed down, and 3, they will take damage over time, and that damage dealt over time is later on converted back to you as HP. If you have made it this far into the video and want to dive further into the community, I do got a Discord, link will be in the description below. They will talk about Marvel Rivals, anime, manga, and whatnot, so if you're interested, feel free to stop by, we'd love to have you. Up next, let's go over her combos. I'll go ahead and leave the inputs up on the screen so you guys will know what buttons I'm pressing for each of these combos. And finally, let's go over her playstyle. In neutral, you mostly want to start off with some poking while setting up your traps, and then you can go ahead and try hitting enemies with your Living Bullet and using your dash to get that monster piercer to do even more damage. When deciding on the best way to use your traps, I found that there are mostly two scenarios that I come across. The first one is if the enemy team has flankers, I'd go ahead and put it around areas that I know flankers usually come around to dive the backline. And then the second is that I mostly put the traps around corners that I know enemies are going to turn around, or I even just toss the trap behind them so they'll walk back into it. With her other dash called Ruthless Pursuit, I found that it's really helpful for me to save it for when enemies are getting too close or if they're diving. For example, if there's an Angela that is trying to go into the backline, I'll use that to stun her out of the sky and then go ahead and do some burst damage and hopefully kill her. Ruthless Pursuit is also one of those abilities that is going to be your core in dealing a bunch of burst damage to enemies that are low. Once your hunting instinct, aka your passive, max out, I honestly think you should use your dash as much as possible, because the main benefit of the dash is that you get the monster piercer, and on top of that you gain overshield, which is really good, especially in those tight situations. And with the cooldown only being 2 seconds when the passive is maxed out, you're gonna be getting it insanely quick. Now, I do want to point out that with Elsa, even though she does have a really good range with doing poke, she isn't on the same level as Hela. so staying really far back is gonna do a lot more harm than good when you're trying to deal damage with Elsa. When deciding on the best time to pop Elsa's ultimate, I found that there are a lot of ways that you can use it to get a lot of value out of the Glocktrox. One of the ways that I found to use the Glocktrox is that you can use it as a counter to support ultimates. For example, like Cloaker, Dagger, or Invis, when they pop their ultimate, you can go ahead and throw the Glocktrox in there and call him back to pull them out of their ultimate and finish them off. Now, if you're near an edge, this works even better if you have characters like, for example, Mantis or Gambit, where the ultimate is on them all the time. It doesn't matter if you grab them and take them off the edge. Another way you can use the ultimate is that you can use the Glocktrox as a way to set up after another ultimate. For example, let's say Groot or Strange pop their ultimate, you can go ahead and pop the Glocktrox after that to grab them, and it's even better if there's an edge, you can throw them off, but if not, then you can try to burst them down. Because remember, with the combo in the guide earlier, as long as they're 255 and under, that combo will kill them. You could also start off with the Glocktrox and then combo it into another ult, for example like Iron Man or Scarlet. When you call back the Glocktrox and you're standing right next to them, you're going to be bringing the enemies right into their ultimate. However, I do want you to keep in mind that the Glocktrox does have some weaknesses, so you can't just use it willy-nilly. Sure, it may be CC immune, but it does have an HP bar, which means that it can get melted pretty quickly. And also another thing is that Jeff, he is a literal counter to the Glocktrox because he can pop his ultimate and save his allies. What's more is that the Glocktrox can't grab anybody that's mid-fade, and it also can't grab anybody that is CC immune, like for example Emma in her diamond form or Punisher in his turret form. Unlike other characters in this game like Squirrel Girl with her ult or Iron Man with his ult, when you die with Elsa, the Glocktrox goes with you. And that's everything on how to play Elsa Bloodstone. If I did leave something out or you did discover something new, feel free to put it in the comments below to share with everyone else to help each other out. And yeah, if you do want more Marvel Rivals on the channel, why don't you go and support your boy? I'll go ahead and catch y'all in the next one. Y'all take it easy.